Welcome to One Word a Day. I'm Sophia, piloting to the Universe of Chinese. Let's continue unpacking some classical China era's core concepts. I'm enjoying it very much. I hope you do too. Um, Such big concepts. Almost we're talking not just about these characters, these um, bits and parts of language of Chinese. We're almost like tracing back to how this language itself is thinking about it's the language of thinking about the functions of language. And today we're talking about the Qi record. It's related to language because how are we going to record our things? How history is made. It's made in a written form. Besides the artifacts, a lot of them are written down by somebody else who weren't killed. Normally on the victor side, such historians or record keepers, they record what happened. That becomes our history. So this Ji definitely have this language component. And then the right side, it's another me, I, my icon. Ji is the pronunciation, but the ji means self. It's more like a self in English. That's reflective. It's like I'm looking at myself, how I think, how I process things. So this reflective self, 己, paired with speaking or with words, with language itself, then becomes record. So I have to spin it a little bit, like why it becomes a record. It turns out like language, just like record making, it's a pretty artificial or subjective thing. When you choose to record things, you have to choose. You have to choose what to record. To spend how much words on what events and things. And if the same thing happened and you ask multiple people to record it, they may come up with different stories, right? So record in that sense is a very personal thing. It's not the objective happening. And even using media of audio, visual, like a film, if you want to record something, there's always something on camera and off camera. There's always an angle of how you view that. View that through what frame, right? That framing itself is a personalized thing. It's not objective. So in that sense, I'm kind of amazed or taken back of how my ancestors, thousands of years ago, how they conceptualized the concept of record. They realized this is a personal choose and pick of details of recording things. This is a self doing the work here. It's not universal. It's not the objective. It's totally through your personal filter. And that speaking through language, plus the self filtering make up the concept of record. I have to say this is pretty profound. Yeah, the ancient old timers were thinking this way. I would be super, super impressed and proud of how they were saying the truth of what record keeping is about. It's really your personal pick and choose, cherry picked record of things. Okay, 记忆, record recall. What is record recall? Recall, like trying to remember something, right? And you're trying to go back to retrieve from whatever you recorded earlier to call back to that. And that is Chinese memory. So 记忆. Or I guess you can view it as memory, the things that remembered, or memorization, the action of remembering it. So 记忆 can be viewed two ways, action or noun. And 记忆 is a pairing that we pair this act of recall. It's kind of a post happening. So we recall. And recording, this record thing, is also post happening, right? Event happened, recorded. And after a certain time interval, then recall what's happening. But you cannot recall to the original happening because it's gone. And you can only go back to record. So that's what memory in Chinese means to us. You can only trace back as far as the way you remembered. Okay, 日记, day record. Day record is a Chinese way to say journaling. So supposedly you write it as daily record. Well, by the way, I translated the sun because I try to show you the connection. Chinese regard, because the sun circle every day, night. So that's our day concept. So once you see a sun, it's one day, right? And so this daily record is a Chinese way to say journaling. And I guess because of journaling was translated as 日记, you almost had the pressure of stress to record daily of what happened. So if you keep a diary or something, you're supposed to do that every day. That's how Chinese translate it anyways. 史记, so instead of personal level, what happened in your personal life, that's 日记, journaling. 史记, history, journaling. So I guess these gotta be government appointed, funded, directed, even of trained record keepers. And they are probably back then the historians. But to me, historians are not record keepers. They are probably the record checkers and cross checkers and questioners and try to, through all that ancient textbooks, to piece together as truthfully as possible, like approximating truth back then, what exactly happened back then, not according to some recording by some government-sponsored historians, right? Okay, 史记, 史 is that history. And so it's on a bigger scale. It's not a personal level. It's the whole regime level. Oftentimes it's regime, right? It's about what happened to the kings and queens and emperors and the wars, the change of regimes, things like that. Major big shots in history. So it's, Chinese history record keeping, a lot of times about dynasty changes, emperors' birth and death years and all that, and the wars, major wars, but not so much about technological inventions. Explorer going to different parts of the globe. Not so much of this. It's like a glorification of whoever is sponsoring that record keeping. So that's 史记. But here, this 史记 is actually to a degree truthful because actually it's not whoever. There's a name to the author of 史记. It's called Sima Qian, yes. And he was a prisoner. So I'm not sure if it's a prisoner, political prisoner of sorts back then. So it was definitely not sponsored by the government. So he was not paid to do this. In fact, he was doing this to record history from his, I guess, best effort without a sponsorship and even under oppression. Like he was in a prison to record this. So this stood out as more historian, through historian lens of a truthful recording of what happened back then, without a government sponsorship there. So there we go. 史记记. Thank you for your time. See you another day.